Have you ever felt like your English is perfect in your head, but the moment you speak, people just don't understand you? What if the secret to sounding totally natural and fluent was actually speaking like a robot? Welcome to Everyday English Flow, daily English practice, natural speaking and effortless listening flow. Today, we have a truly fascinating journey ahead of us. We're going straight for three massive goals in your language journey: accent reduction, clear pronunciation, and mastering advanced vocabulary and context.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be packed with value.
Yeah, and to make sure you have a clear roadmap for this deep dive, before we even begin, I need you to know that today we are going to cover exactly three crucial steps to revolutionize your pronunciation. And I should mention early on, I mentioned there was a bonus at the end, and here it is. Well, I'm going to save the actual bonus tip for the very end, but trust me, you'll want to stick around for it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So it is fantastic to be diving into this because, for you, our listeners who are operating at that high C1 level of English, the game has fundamentally changed. I mean, you already know the grammar rules inside and
Oh
out.
yeah, the grammar is basically second nature by now.
Exactly. You have a massive, sophisticated vocabulary. You can read complex articles without breaking a sweat. But the physical mechanics of speech, the actual biological way your tongue, lips, and vocal cords produce sound, that is almost always the final, most frustrating hurdle.
It really is.
Yeah. And top linguists widely believe that this physical layer, not the mental layer, is where advanced learners need to focus to truly unlock native-like fluency.
It is such a profoundly frustrating plateau to hit, isn't it? I mean, you know all the right words, you're constructing these beautiful, nuanced arguments in your mind, but then the physical delivery just falls flat because your pronunciation feels slightly off.
Yeah, it's a universal anxiety among advanced learners.
Right. You know the language intimately, yet you still feel this, I don't know, this invisible barrier when communicating.
I completely agree. The cognitive dissonance there is exhausting, and it leads to a lot of unnecessary pressure. Many advanced learners fixate entirely on their accent. They feel this intense need to completely get rid of it.
Oh, wait, get rid of. Let's pause there because since we're focusing on advanced vocabulary today, that phrasal verb to get rid of is definitely worth noting.
It is a great one. So to get rid of means to eliminate or discard something unwanted. For example, you might say, I need to get rid of my bad habits before the new year.
Or I want to get rid of all this old furniture in the garage.
Exactly. Perfectly natural everyday usage. In this language context, learners view their native accent as an unwanted piece of luggage they are desperately trying to leave behind, simply because their primary goal is just to be understood without friction.
Right, they just want to get rid of the friction. But here's the completely wild part of our deep dive today. We are talking about getting rid of that friction, getting rid of those pronunciation issues. And the highly unconventional strategy we are looking at to achieve this is to practice speaking like a stiff, mechanical robot.
I know. It sounds entirely counterintuitive. I mean, you want fluid speech, so we tell you to be robotic. But it is remarkably effective because of how human anatomy works.
Okay, break that down for me a bit.
Sure. So to speak like a robot means you deliberately adopt a style of speech that is incredibly choppy.
Choppy. That's another excellent C1 vocabulary word for us.
It really is. Choppy means disjointed. It's not smooth, it moves in sudden, aggressive stops and starts. Think about being on a boat when the weather turns bad. You wouldn't say the water is glassy, you'd say it's choppy.
Right, the boat is getting hit by waves in sudden jarring bursts.
Exactly. Or, in a more modern sense, think about a bad internet connection. You might say, the audio on our video call was so choppy that I couldn't understand her.
Oh yeah, where the sound just breaks up and freezes.
Yes, exactly. We are asking you to do that to your own voice.
Okay, I have to push back on this entirely. If the ultimate goal for anyone listening is to sound natural, fluid, and beautifully fluent, why on earth would we practice sounding choppy and disjointed? It feels like we are hardwiring the exact opposite of what we want to achieve.
Completely understand why you'd think that, but
Like if I want to be a fluid, elegant dancer, I don't go into the studio and practice by doing rigid, awkward Frankenstein movements, do I? I mean, I want to practice the flow.
what's fascinating here is that your dance analogy actually proves the exact linguistic mechanism we were talking about, just in reverse.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, think about how a professional ballet dancer or, say, a martial artist actually learns a highly complex, fluid sequence. They absolutely do not just run out on day one and try to execute the whole thing at full speed with perfect emotion and flow.
Okay, true. They would probably just trip over their own feet.
They would stumble entirely. So what do they actually do? They stop, they isolate the footwork, they do it painstakingly slowly. Step 1, stop, check the balance. Step 2, stop, check the hips. Step 3, stop.
Oh, okay.
If you watch a dancer in the early stages of rehearsal, it actually looks incredibly stiff, choppy, and awkward.
I see where this is going, because if they try to go full speed right out of the gate, their body will just default to whatever movements it already knows, which, might be the totally wrong movements for this new routine.
Precisely. That is the core biological issue with pronunciation at the C1 level. Your mouth, your tongue, your jaw, they are muscles. And for decades, those muscles have been perfectly habituated to the phonetic sounds of your native language.
Right, that's your baseline.
That is your automatic pilot. When you try to speak English quickly and fluidly, your brain goes into automatic pilot, and your tongue defaults to the resting positions of your native language. That is what causes an accent.
So by being robotic, you're interrupting that.
Yes, when you deliberately make your speech choppy, when you speak like a robot, you are physically interrupting that automatic pilot. You are stopping the momentum that usually glosses over difficult English sounds, flexing your facial muscles to build completely new muscle memory.
You are basically shutting down the brain's predictive text feature for your mouth. You're forcing it to manually type out every single letter.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it. You are forcing the muscles in your vocal tract to hit exact, unfamiliar positions without the pressure of maintaining a conversational speed. This foundational muscle building is step 1.
This is such good stuff. And hey, if you are enjoying this everyday English flow, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe right now so we can keep bringing you these deep dives.
Yes, please do. Your support really does mean everything to us, and it helps build this incredible community of advanced learners. So let's transition a bit.
Yeah, let's move forward.
Now that we understand the deep physiological mechanics behind why this choppy robotic practice is necessary, we have to look at step 2. How do we actually apply this to real words?
Right, because there's a risk here.
A huge risk. Because the danger here is that if you just read a dictionary like a robot, you are going to learn textbook English, not real spoken English.
Right, and to make this hyper-practical for you listening right now, let's bring up a specific everyday sentence to test this on. Let's use the sentence, I don't want to eat dinner.
That is the perfect test case, because if you look at that sentence on a printed page, you see 6 distinct, independent words. I don't want to eat dinner.
But as a highly advanced learner, you already know that native speakers practically never say it like that in casual conversation.
Never.
If you articulate every single consonant perfectly, hitting the hard T and don't and the hard T and want, you don't sound fluent. You sound like an automated customer service menu.
It sounds incredibly rigid. When a native English speaker says that sentence, a phenomenon called connected speech or natural assimilation takes over.
The words physically melt into one another, right?
Yeah. Exactly. They blend together to save time and breath. A native speaker will completely drop the T and don't, and they will seamlessly blend want to into wanna.
So instead of the textbook, I don't want to eat dinner, the reality is they say, I don't want to eat dinner.
I don't want to eat dinner. That melted, assimilated sound is the true target. That is the natural sound we want your muscles to memorize. But to get your mouth to learn that new, fluid shape, using our robotic technique, we have to take that natural sentence and literally fracture it.
We have to deconstruct it.
We do.
And this brings us to an incredibly useful phrasal verb for our vocabulary goals today. Break it down.
I use this one all the time.
Right. When you have a massive, overwhelming task, you can't tackle it all at once. You have to break it down, which means to separate a complex system into smaller, highly manageable pieces.
Exactly. Like if a complex mathematical equation is confusing a class, you would say, the math problem was too difficult, so the teacher had to break it down for the students.
Right. You dismantle it to understand how the individual pieces actually fit together.
Yes, the teacher had to break it down for the students. It's really about reducing cognitive load. And that is exactly what we are doing with phonetic assimilation. We are going to take the natural blended sentence, I don't want to eat dinner, and we are going to break it down into choppy robotic sections.
Wait, let me make sure I'm really getting this. We are breaking down the natural pronunciation, not the textbook pronunciation.
Precisely. This is where most learners make a critical error. They practice the dictionary words like a robot. We want you to practice the assimilated sounds like a robot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you break it down like this. I don't wanna eat dinner. Notice the complete physical pause between every single sound.
I don't want to eat dinner.
Yes, you are literally stopping the airflow from your lungs between each chunk. I don't want to eat dinner.
Okay, I see. By doing that, you are removing all the surrounding noise. You are forcing your brain to focus 100% of its processing power on the physical shape of the new sound, wanna, without rushing past it to get to the word eat.
Exactly. You are using the robotic technique to isolate the sound. And isolate is another fantastic high-level vocabulary word for C1 learners.
It really is.
In a scientific or medical context, to isolate means to completely separate something from its environment so it can be examined on its own. For instance, the doctor needs to isolate the specific virus causing illness.
Right, the doctor separates that one microscopic variable from the entire bloodstream so they can study it.
Yes, the doctor needs to isolate the specific virus causing the illness.
I love that imagery for language.
Mhm.
In your speech practice, you are the scientist.
Yeah.
You are isolating the target sound, wanna. You are ripping it out of the sentence, putting it under a microscope, and figuring out exactly where your tongue needs to touch the roof of your mouth to produce it perfectly.
That's exactly what's happening physiologically.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The underlying paradox of this entire methodology. I mean, you are deliberately utilizing a completely unnatural rhythm, this stiff, awkward, robotic pacing, in order to master completely natural sounds.
Just true.
You are being profoundly unnatural with your timing to become flawlessly natural with your pronunciation.
It is a beautiful paradox, and neurologically, it works because it severely reduces your cognitive load. Think about what happens when you speak a second language natively. Your brain is trying to retrieve vocabulary, ensure grammatical accuracy, monitor the social context of the conversation, and physically move your jaw and tongue in unfamiliar ways.
All at like 150 words per minute.
Exactly. It's simply too much. By completely removing the pressure of speed and rhythm, your brain only has to focus on one single thing, the physical mouth position.
Okay, so that perfectly encapsulates step 2. We break down the natural assimilated sounds, but this naturally begs a massive question for step 3.
Yeah.
Because practically speaking, I'm sitting alone in my living room, pausing between every single syllable like a malfunctioning android.
Right.
I've built the muscle memory, but I cannot talk like this at the grocery store or in a business negotiation. So how do we bridge the gap?
This requires a massive, flashing warning light. I cannot emphasize this enough for everyone listening right now. You must never, ever utilize this robotic pacing with other human beings in the real world.
Please don't.
This is strictly 100% a private practice technique. If you walk into a cafe and stare at the barista and say, I don't want to drink coffee, they are going to think something is deeply wrong.
It would be terrifying.
It really would be. This is for your car, your shower, or your private study time.
Yes, please do not break out the robot voice during your quarterly performance review. The entire goal of this private isolation phase is to gain total, effortless control over the mechanics. And that perfectly tees up our next C1 vocabulary word. Master, used as a verb.
Oh, that's a brilliant word.
We hear master as a noun all the time, like a chess master, but as a verb, it is incredibly powerful.
It really is. To master something goes far beyond just understanding it intellectually. It means you have acquired complete, unquestionable skill and command over it. It has become second nature. For example, it takes years of dedication to master a foreign language. You haven't just memorized vocabulary, you have achieved complete operational command over the system.
Exactly. It takes years of dedicated practice to master a foreign language. So in this private robotic phase, you aren't just practicing the sound, you are trying to master it.
Yes, you are forcing the neurons in your brain to wire together so that the physical movement happens without conscious thought.
And once you have achieved that mastery in the slow, choppy state, what is the bridge to reality?
Then we introduce the final piece of the phonetic puzzle, which brings us to our next phrasal verb. Speed it up.
Speed it up. That is a phrase you will hear constantly in everyday conversational English, whether in business or casual life.
Absolutely. To speed it up simply means to increase the rate, the tempo, or the pace of an action. You are accelerating it. So if a project is falling behind schedule, a manager might say, we are running out of time before the deadline, so we need to speed up the manufacturing process.
We need to increase the velocity of the work.
Right. We are running out of time, so we need to speed up the manufacturing process.
So applying that to our speech, we take these perfectly isolated, deeply mastered sounds, and we incrementally start to speed the entire sequence up.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how the human brain learns complex motor skills, you see the brilliant progression of fluency here. It's a process called myelination.
Myelination.
Yeah, when you practice the sound perfectly but slowly, your brain wraps those specific neural pathways in a substance called myelin, which literally makes the electrical signal travel faster and more efficiently.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
So you start incredibly slow in your private space. I don't want to eat dinner. You master the isolation. Then you incrementally, almost imperceptibly, speed it up.
So like, I don't want to eat dinner.
Exactly. The pauses get shorter. You keep pushing the tempo faster and faster, melting the robotic pauses away completely until it becomes a perfectly fluent, effortlessly understandable sentence. I don't want to eat dinner. And you can deploy that in the real world with total confidence.
It's exactly like taking the training wheels off a child's bicycle. The training wheels were the rigid robot pauses. They kept you balanced and upright while your brain learned the really complicated mechanics of steering and pedaling.
That's a perfect analogy.
But once you speed it up, physics takes over. The momentum keeps you balanced, and you realize you don't actually need the pauses anymore. The flow sustains itself.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. And because you did the grueling, choppy, slow motion work first, the fast version doesn't sound sloppy. It sounds crisp, natural, and perfectly clear. Your native accent doesn't interfere because your articulatory muscles now have a brand new, deeply ingrained map to follow.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this entire linguistic deep dive together for a rapid-fire recap of the 3 crucial steps we covered today to completely revolutionize your pronunciation. Step 1. Embrace the choppy, robotic practice.
Interrupt your brain's automatic pilot to build new muscle memory.
And don't be afraid to sound completely ridiculous in private. Step 2. Break down natural sounds, not dictionary words.
Figure out how native speakers actually assimilate and blend the language and isolate those specific real-world sounds.
And step 3, gradually speed it up. Start agonizingly slow, master the physical mechanics of the mouth, and incrementally increase your tempo until you achieve natural, effortless fluency.
It is widely believed by top language acquisition experts that if you commit to those 3 steps, you won't just see a minor improvement, you will see a structural transformation in how easily native speakers understand you.
You stop trying to think your way to better pronunciation.
Exactly, and you start actively solving it as a mechanical, muscular problem.
Now, I promised you right at the beginning that there was a massive bonus waiting for you at the end of this deep dive, and here it is. It is believed by many top educators that mastering these specific robotic isolation techniques is actually just the very first step of a much larger, incredibly effective framework known as the 5 steps to becoming a confident English speaker.
That's right, it's just the foundation.
And the bonus tip we want to give you today to help you bridge the gap between step 1 and the rest of those 5 steps is this. When you are alone in your room, grinding through the slow, awkward robot phase, record yourself on your smartphone.
This is such a game changer.
I know. I know it feels deeply uncomfortable to listen to your own voice, especially when you are speaking like a choppy robot. But recording the slow phase creates a vital auditory feedback loop. It allows you to objectively hear your own progress when you compare it to the recordings of yourself speeding it up weeks later. You essentially become your own high-level language coach.
That auditory feedback is phenomenal advice. Self-awareness is absolutely critical when you are trying to break out of the C1 plateau. You have to be able to hear your own mistakes to correct them.
You really do.
Now, we want to hear directly from you. We want to know that you are taking this mechanical journey seriously. To show us that you are truly dedicated to your daily English practice, I want you to go to the comments below right now and write, "I stay committed" in the comment box.
Yeah, type it out.
Make that tangible commitment to yourself, to your muscle memory, and to this entire community of advanced learners.
And before we let you go, we have one final, fun language challenge specifically designed for you C1 learners. We want to test your practical knowledge of everyday English idioms. Here is your idiom for today, and it actually relates to the mouth. To bite your tongue.
Ooh, a classic one.
I'll say it one more time. To bite your tongue. What does this idiom actually mean in a conversational context? Write your answers in an example sentence in the comment section below. We read absolutely all of them, and we love seeing how you apply these to real-life situations.
It is genuinely one of the highlights of the deep dive to see the incredibly nuanced examples you all come up with. It proves the high level of this community.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep your English flowing. We are building a massive, comprehensive library of these deep dives just for you, dissecting the language layer by layer, and your continued support means the absolute world to us.
Think about this as you go through your day. What if the ultimate secret to perfect fluency isn't actually about training your mouth to move faster, but rather training your ears to deeply appreciate the silence between the sounds?